So here's our video for lesson 7.3. This is just a really tiny step up from 7.2. What is a binomial and how do we multiply them? So in 7.2 we looked at things like maybe x plus 2 is a binomial because it has two terms. And if I'm multiplying that by another binomial, we had a couple different methods. We talked about like double distribution. We talked about FOIL or box method, but basically I got to get each of these terms so that x has to multiply by both and the 2 has to multiply by both. So when we do this multiplication, we would end up with x squared plus 2x plus 5x plus 10. And then we would end up wanting to simplify those two middle terms can be combined, and I know this isn't the neatest way to write this, but we could simplify x squared plus 7x plus 10. So this is just kind of special cases of this. We're still doing the exact same process, but if you can start to notice some patterns in this, you can speed up this process for yourself, and it'll really help you out in the future. So there is a little bit of new notation as well. So if we have 3x plus 4 squared, remember that squared means I'm taking everything that's being squared times itself. So what this means is 3x plus 4 times 3x plus 4. So that's the notation bit. The multiplication part works exactly the same way. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. 3x times 3x is going to be 9x squared. I tend to kind of naturally do like the FOIL method. So first time first, outside, outside. So 3x times 4, that's going to be 12x. And then I've got another 12x, and then 16, which would simplify to 9x squared plus 24x plus 16. So I would recommend trying the next one and kind of seeing if you notice any sort of pattern to this. And then we'll discuss here in just a second. It's going to be 5x minus 2y times 5x minus 2y, which would be 25x squared minus 10xy minus 10xy, so there's something that you may notice, plus 4y squared. So when we have this, that middle term is always going to duplicate itself. So you may get to the point where you don't need to write it all out like this twice. You can say, oh, well, this times this is going to be minus 10xy, and if I do it again, and I add them up, that's going to give me negative 20xy. Minus 20xy plus 4y squared. Moving on, what's going on here? Now, notice I've got a x plus 5 and an x minus 5. So the terms are exactly the same, but one is a positive and one is a negative, and there's going to be another pattern that you might notice here. So again, if we just kind of start going through this process, my first term would be x squared minus 5x plus 5x minus 25. And in this case, notice, now I've got a positive 5x and a negative 5x. What's going to happen when I add those together? You're just going to get 0, so this becomes x squared minus 25, which is the same as just taking the first term squared minus the second term squared, and it's always going to be the same pattern. So without even expanding, we could look at this and say, okay, well, first term squared, 3x times 3x would be 9x squared minus last term squared, y squared. That's what we're going to get. I mean, we can go through the process real quick and show that, but that's what we would get. So 3x times 3x, again, is 9x squared. If I went outside, outside, that would be minus 3xy. Inside, inside would be plus 3xy, so those are going to cancel out. last times last minus y squared. So as we already noticed, this is just going to be 9x squared minus y squared. So again, if you don't remember these patterns, it's not going to do you any major harm right now, but what it will do is if you can notice these and remember these, it will help you out in the future, especially down here, this plus and minus, because when we start factoring and you see something like this, it's really helpful if you can recognize that when we start going in reverse, it's going to look like that every time. Square root of this term plus and minus the square root of that term.